Hello and welcome to this Red Gaming Tech video of myself and Marta, where as always I'm here with the latest from the tech world in the last 24 or so hours. We've got a couple of AMD pieces to kick things off, the first of which is regarding a new embedded Ryzen SoC. So this was announced by AMD at the Taiwan Embedded Forum, and it is the Ryzen Embedded R1000 SoC, and it has dual-core quad-thread performance that can support up to 3 4K displays up to 60 FPS while providing H.265 encode/decode and VP9 decode 3 capabilities. And do have a bit of a statement here from AMD regarding this, saying, quotes, "The AMD Embedded Ryzen R1000 builds out the embedded family and provides a compelling option for customers that want access to a powerful Zen and Vega architecture that are looking for a highly competitive power performance solution. The Ryzen Embedded R1000 can support rich multimedia environments for digital displays and casino gaming, enterprise-class security features for edge computing, networking and thin clients, and most importantly, introduces new classes of performance of providing customers with software and hardware capability with the extended Ryzen Embedded family." So the use cases for this are things like networking, high-performance edge computing, and digital displays. It is, for example, going to be used in the upcoming Atari VCS system. But what about the specs of it, I hear you ask? Well, there's a link in the description below this video to the Embedded R1000 page where you can see all the information available, and there's sort of use cases for this, like Internet of Things and casinos and all that sort of stuff. But we have two SKUs currently being listed, the Embedded R1606G and the R1505G. So the 1606G has 2 cores, 4 threads. As I said, they are both dual core performance, but obviously quad thread as well, as I've already said. But the clock speed does differ between the two. We have a base frequency for the R16 at 2.6 GHz and a max of 3.5, and then a TDP of 12 to 25 watts. As for the R1505G, again we see 2 cores, 4 threads, a base frequency of 2.4 GHz and a max of 3.3, and again that same TDP. However, we actually have a bit of a sort of crossover post next, as we have some announcements as to the 7nm chips for the PlayStation 5. Now, interestingly, we finally got the first confirmed details about the PlayStation 5 from Sony's Mark Cerny yesterday. Go and check out Paul's video, which is going to be linked in the description below this video. If you haven't seen it, he goes through all of the things that we learned in great detail, gives his opinion and all of that. So go watch that if you haven't already, because he talks about everything there. I'm not going to talk about the stuff we've already know here. But what we have for you today is a new report from DigiTimes, who are one of the most reliable sources of information from the Taiwanese semiconductor industry. And they have just released a report, which again is going to be linked below, basically saying that the 7nm chips, which are what we know are going to be as part of the Sony PlayStation 5, or whatever it ends up being called, are not going to be ready until Q3 2020. So that obviously means we can expect the PlayStation 5 at some point in late 2020. And this is according to their very own industry sources. So the 7nm processors, the 7nm CPU and GPU, should I say, are estimated to be ready 3rd quarter, and we're expected to see the console release late 2020, again, according to those sources. And I would fully expect to see a holiday release for the PlayStation 5. I mean, let's just take a look at the release date of the PlayStation 4, for example. At least here in the EU, and of course in North America, we saw it come out in November of 2013. So I would fully expect to see a October/November release date for the PlayStation 5, because that makes sense in terms of prime spots before the holidays, and of course lines up with this report from DigiTimes that 7nm for the PlayStation 5 is not going to be ready until the 3rd quarter. Now, of course, this is all speculation based on their report, but this does make sense. Now, another thing that I kind of want to follow up on here is one of the things that Mark Cerny did not touch on in his lengthy interview with Wired that we finally learned the specs of, again, which Paul goes through in his video yesterday. Now, one of the things he didn't touch on that I want to mention here is the price. Now, this was apparently asked by reporter Peter Rubin, but Mark Sony just would not budge and would not even give a rough ballpark as to the figure. All that he wanted to say was basically that it's going to be appealing to us in light of its advanced feature set. There's almost a direct quote. He said, quote, "I believe that we'll be able to release it at an SRP, suggested retail price, that will be appealing to gamers in light of its advanced feature set. That's about all I can say about it." So that seems pretty clear to me what that means. It's going to be expensive because of its advanced feature set, and of course we learn things like ray tracing and all of that. So it's not going to be the cheapest. It's probably maybe going to be Xbox One X-ish level of price. So that's roughly what I would expect. But it's still going to give enough value to make it worth it to gamers. That seems to me like what Mark Cerny is saying there. Based on that, and of course everything we learned yesterday, and of course we still don't know a lot of stuff about the console. We don't know clock speeds and stuff like that. So it's hard to give a exact guess or speculation on how much it's going to cost, but it is going to be higher, I expect, than the PS4 launch price, which was $400. But this is, again, all speculation. Mark Cerny would not even give a ballpark. That is literally all he was able to say when it comes to how much this thing is going to cost. So let's move on from that, as we have a little something now from Intel. Now, it's just a small something, but interesting nonetheless, as they are making movements in the semiconductor industry, as they have, or the Intel FPGA group, should I say, have acquired Omnitech, a 40-person developer of cores used for FPGAs in a wide variety of markets. Unfortunately, details were not disclosed, but they have designed things for video, vision, and other applications for things such as medical, video conferencing, and broadcasting. But more recently, it was behind the designing of a deep learning block for inferencing on Xilinx's ultra-scale FPGAs. And I would put a reasonably confident, like $5 or something, on that being one of the reasons why they have bought Omnitech, that deep learning experience and that deep learning FPGA experience, because everyone's about that deep learning and neural networking and all that sort of stuff. So that's my personal guess as to why, but unfortunately we don't even know how much they were acquired for. So next up, we have leaked specifications for the GTX 1650. So this leak comes from the website benchmark.pl. Unfortunately, the link no longer works. It produces a 404, so the page has since been pulled, but of course we still have those details on the internet, and they listed 4 different custom models of the card along with some fairly detailed specifications. Now, according to their information, the GTX 1650 is going to have a new Turing GPU SKU by the name of the TU117, which is apparently just going to be below the 116, which is what makes up the 1660 Ti and 1660. In terms of the CUDA cores, we are going to see 896, which basically puts it just above the 1050 Ti, and we're also going to see 56 TMUs. So you're probably thinking already what I was thinking when I first read the specifications. That leaves a pretty sizable space in between the 1650 and 1660. That probably means we're going to be seeing a Ti variant of the 1650, but of course we just don't know. We're also going to see 4GB of GDDR5 memory being used here. Now, one of the custom models was an Asus ROG Strix 1650 OC Gaming, which actually had a maximum boost frequency of 1725 MHz. And also we have the Zotac GTX 1650 OC, which has a boost clock of 1695, so just coming in a little bit under that of the ROG Strix. And we also have a palette, Storm X GTX 1650, which has a boost of 1655, and a Gainword model that has a boost of 1725. Now, interestingly, there was also a leak of the price tag on a different website called vonguro.fr. Now, again, unfortunately, has since been pulled. However, it puts it about $149 US, so it is pretty much directly competing with the RX 570. Now naturally that is just for one variant, so your mileage may vary depending on which one you end up going for, if you do end up going for any of these of course. But still, very interesting to see these specs, and I would really be surprised to not see a 1650 Ti variant given the significant gap in specs between this and the 1660/1660 Ti, but it's entirely possible that they won't, but knowing Nvidia, they absolutely will. So let's finish things up, shall we, with a little bit of a dousing of a rumour, shall we say, from MSI. Now, you may have seen some information doing the rounds yesterday where essentially a MSI representative told someone on Reddit incorrect information, essentially stating that the MSI 300 and 400 series AM4 motherboards would not support the upcoming Ryzen 3000 CPUs. And now, I had a feeling that this was a customer rep saying incorrect information because that did not sound right to me at all. That goes completely against what AMD promised when it comes to AM4. And MSI have actually given a press release, so I'm just going to read directly from that now. It says, quote, "It has come to our attention that MSI customer support has regrettably misinformed an MSI customer with regards to potential support for next-gen AMD CPUs on the MSI X370 X-Power Gaming Titanium motherboard. Through this statement, we want to clarify the current situation. At this point, we are still performing extensive testing on our existing lineup of 300 and 400 series AM4 motherboards to verify compatibility for the next-gen AMD Ryzen CPUs. To be clear, our intention is to offer maximum compatibility for as many MSI products as possible. Towards the launch of the next-gen AMD CPUs, we will release a compatibility list of MSI AM4 motherboards. Here is a full list of upcoming BIOS versions which include compatibility for the next-gen AMD APUs for our 300 series and 400 series AMD motherboards based on the latest AMD Combo PI version 1.0.0.0. And we basically have some for the X470 variants, so the M7AC, Pro Carbon, Pro Carbon AC, Plus and the Pro, and the B450M, so quite a lot of variants there, and of course X370 and B350 including the Tomahawk. So there you have it, MSI pretty much clearing up the waters there when it comes to what's going on with the 300 and 400 series support for Ryzen 3000. Do keep an eye on the full list of compatibility. If perhaps you have a lower end motherboard, it could be possible that you might have to upgrade, but again, they are still working on it. It's pretty much what they just said. But yeah, that's the statement for you there, guys. Anyway, that is me done for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, your support is highly appreciated, and I'll see you next time.